AITA for telling my wife I'm ending our marriage because I found her brother at our house again and said it in front of him. I am 38, left my wife, Kelly F38, today after 5 years together and 4 years of marriage. And I feel like I'm mentally collapsing but also weirdly relieved. Her family was always too much. But I held on. I tolerated it all because I loved her. But love doesn't survive when it's left to rot under the weight of disrespect and broken boundaries. When we first got together, I noticed how close-knit her family was. I mean, close in a way that sometimes felt borderline invasive. Her mom would call during our dinners. Her dad would show up unannounced just to check in. Her siblings treated our home like a community center. At first, I smiled and waved it off. Thought maybe it was just temporary. Thought maybe over time they'd get it. They didn't. 2 years ago, everything changed. I started noticing that my things weren't mine anymore. My snacks disappeared. My recliner, the one thing I'd saved for that gave me comfort after long, exhausting days, was always occupied by someone else when I came home. I'd walk into the bathroom to find my toothbrush damp, out of place. My sanctuary wasn't mine anymore. Then it got worse. Her parents' marriage exploded. Her dad, after cheating and living a secret double life, decided to kick everyone out of the house. Suddenly, I was expected to be the savior. And like a fool in love, I agreed. I said yes when I should have said hell no. I took them in, 4 grown adults, into our small house. For weeks it was chaos. They treated my space like a motel they didn't pay for. My things were used without asking. My quiet evenings became battlegrounds of noise, smells, and tension. My wife kept saying, "They're just family, it's just temporary." But temporary started feeling permanent. And every time I brought it up, she made me feel like I was the problem. Her sister started taking naps in our bed. Our bed? That's not just creepy. It's disrespectful. It's invasive. A bed is a personal thing. It's where we slept, talked, dreamed. It was ours. And now someone else was using it like a nap station? I'd walk in, and there she'd be, curled up, shoes still on, dead asleep. I couldn't even say anything because Kelly would give me that "don't make a scene" look. I got tired of being quiet. I snapped. I yelled. I told them all to get out. Told Kelly I needed her on my side, and she cried. Said I was being dramatic. Said I didn't understand what family meant to her. But what about what I meant to her? I tried again. Gave it time. But this morning broke everything. I came home after a long day. I just wanted silence, a hot shower, and some peace. But instead, her brother's car was parked in the middle of the damn driveway. Not on the side, not in the guest spot, right smack in front of the entrance like he owned the place. My only option was to drive on the lawn, and I did. I was fuming. I walked in, and there he was, shoes on, lying across my couch like he'd just finished running my household. He smiled at me. That smug, "What are you gonna do?" smile, and something inside me cracked. I walked into the bedroom, pulled out a suitcase, and started packing everything I could grab. My clothes, documents, anything that I'd need. Kelly ran in behind me, panicking. "What are you doing? Babe, please talk to me." I didn't say a word. Not yet. I zipped the bag shut, lifted it, and walked right back into the living room where her brother was still lounging. And right there in front of him, I said it. Calm, clear, final. "I'm done, Kelly. I'm ending this marriage. You never protected me. You let them walk all over me, and I've finally had enough." She froze. Her brother sat up but didn't say anything. Maybe he finally got the message. I walked out, got in my car, and drove off. She called immediately after, crying, but I didn't answer. I don't even know what I'm feeling anymore. The moment I walked out of the house, I felt the weight lift off my shoulders, but it was replaced instantly by something colder, emptier, the kind of silence that wraps around your ribs and squeezes slowly. I wasn't angry anymore, not in the way I had been for months. I was just done, like a switch flipped, and I couldn't flip it back even if I wanted to. She called before I even made it to the end of the block. I let it ring. No voicemail, just her name filling my screen again and again. I parked in a hotel lot and sat there, engine running, heart barely beating. I'd spent so long begging her to understand, begging her to choose me over the circus that was her family, but she never did. And when I finally left now, she was calling. Suddenly it mattered. I checked in. Went to the room, sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. The silence hit differently here. No footsteps, no voices, no one in my recliner, no one in my bed, no one using my shower. I should have felt peace, but peace doesn't come easy when you've been burning inside for years. It comes slow like healing after a fire. My phone buzzed over and over, text after text from Kelly. She was saying she was sorry that she didn't realize it had gotten that bad, that she never thought I'd actually leave. But that's the problem. She never thought I would because I never did. She'd push and I'd bend, she'd ignore my pain, and I'd swallow it. She thought I'd always stay because I always had. She said things would be different, that she'd tell her family to back off, that she'd set boundaries finally. But I couldn't believe her not anymore, because when someone shows you who they are again and again and again, there's a point where belief runs out. She let me bleed emotionally for 2 years, and now that I walked away, now she wanted to stop the bleeding, but it was too late. I was already empty. I didn't reply that night. I just lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, letting the quiet eat me alive. I didn't cry, but it wasn't strength. It was numbness, the kind that comes after you've cried for too many nights, in secret for too long, hoping someone would notice your pain, and they never did. And then the door to the hotel room started to feel more solid, more mine than the front door of my own house ever had. That was the night I realized something brutal but true. Love without protection isn't love, and a marriage where you're always on defense isn't a marriage. It's war. And I was done fighting battles I never started. The next morning I woke up to knocking. I hadn't told anyone where I was, but the hotel clerk probably saw her pacing the lobby crying. I opened the door and there she was, Kelly, standing there in a hoodie, hair, messy eyes red and swollen. She looked broken, like she hadn't slept, like she'd spent the entire night realizing what she'd done. She said my name once, soft, like she was afraid I'd vanish if she spoke too loud. She tried to step inside, but I didn't move. I didn't make room. "Please just talk to me," she whispered, but I didn't know what to say because part of me wanted to pull her inside and hold her and pretend like the last 2 years hadn't crushed my soul. And the other part, the one that remembered every time I asked for help and was ignored, stood its ground. "You let them ruin us," I finally said. She broke down right there in the hallway, like her knees just gave out. She started sobbing, said she was sorry, said she didn't realize how bad it had gotten, said she thought I was just being dramatic, that I'd always forgive her, because I always had, and that hurt more than anything else, because she knew I was in pain and just assumed I'd stay anyway. I helped her sit on the edge of the bed. She kept touching my arm like she was afraid I'd disappear again. She told me she'd already talked to her siblings, told them they couldn't come over anymore, told her parents to stop dropping by, told her brother to leave me alone forever, that she was serious this time. I just looked at her, because those were the words I needed to hear 2 years ago. "I should have stood up for you," she said through tears. "I should have protected you from them. I just didn't think it mattered that much, and now I know I ruined everything." And that was it, wasn't it? It mattered that much. It mattered every time I came home to strangers in my living room. It mattered every time my recliner was already taken when I walked in. It mattered every time I told her I felt invisible, and she brushed it off like I was just being sensitive. She kept begging, saying she'd go to therapy, that we could go together, that we could fix this. But the truth was, we weren't broken. We were shattered, and she'd been stepping over the pieces for years while I bled. I told her I needed space, not a day, not a week, but real space distance time. She said she'd wait as long as it took, and I believed her. But it didn't matter, because waiting doesn't fix a heart that doesn't trust anymore. It had barely been 3 days since I left when they showed up, all of them one by one, as if they'd rehearsed it. My phone buzzed all morning with unknown numbers. I ignored them. But then I saw from the lobby camera that her brother, her mom, and even her dad were standing in the hotel parking lot like they were staging an intervention. I told the front desk not to let anyone up, but they just kept standing there waiting, as if time or guilt or pressure could somehow bring me back to the house I used to call home. I finally went down, not for closure, not for conversation, but because I wanted them to see it in my face, that the man they walked over for 2 years was done being silent. Her mom tried to hug me the second I stepped outside. I took a step back. "Oh, honey, we didn't realize things had gotten so bad," she said like she hadn't helped create the chaos I lived through. Her brother leaned against the hood of his car, the same smug look he had that day he blocked my driveway. "You could have just talked to us, man. No need to overreact." Overreact, that word hit me like a slap in the face. Overreact, as if giving someone your home, your food, your patience, your peace, and then finally walking away after 2 years of begging was an overreaction. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "You've been walking into my home like you own it since the day I made the mistake of helping you. You never respected me, never once, and every time I said something, you ignored it, and so did she. So now I'm done." He laughed like I was being dramatic, but his eyes flickered because he knew I wasn't playing this time. Her dad stood off to the side, arms crossed, not saying much, just watching like he was above it all, which made sense considering he'd burned his own marriage to the ground and still felt entitled to mine. Then her mom said it, "Marriage is about sacrifice. You're just supposed to stick through the hard parts." That's when I snapped, "No. Marriage is about mutual respect. Marriage is about not feeling like a stranger in your own home. It's not sacrifice when I'm the only one bleeding. It's abandonment with a wedding ring on top." They all went quiet because they couldn't spin it anymore. They couldn't turn the story into me being too sensitive, too private, too antisocial. They had no defense. Her mom tried one more time. "Kelly's devastated. You should give her another chance. She really is sorry." I looked straight at her and said, "I gave her 100 chances while I lost myself, and no one noticed or cared. So now I'm choosing me, and if that makes me selfish, then I'll finally wear that title with pride." And I walked away. And for the first time in 2 years, no one followed. I had barely gotten through the door to my apartment when I saw the envelope. It was sitting there on the kitchen counter, the same way she used to leave me notes when we were just dating. But this time, there was no sweetness to it, no love, just guilt and desperation. I picked it up and my hands felt heavier than they should have. Inside was a letter, handwritten by Kelly. The ink was smudged in places where I'm sure her tears had fallen. She poured her heart into those words, begging for forgiveness, begging for a second chance. The letter was filled with apologies, promises of change, and stories of how she finally saw the truth, how she had hurt me and allowed her family to destroy what we had. But the more I read, the more I realized something. It wasn't enough. She wrote about how she regretted not standing up to her family sooner, how she finally understood how much pain I had been carrying, how much I had sacrificed for our relationship. She promised to never let them cross boundaries again, to choose me over them this time. She even went as far as saying she'd leave her family if it meant we could rebuild. The more I read, the more I thought about everything, how she had ignored my pain for so long, how she had taken me for granted, and how she had only seen my hurt as an inconvenience. There were no words that could undo the damage that had been done. Her letter was beautiful, but it wasn't the answer to the question I had been asking myself for so long. Is love enough? I thought back to all the nights I spent trying to make her understand, all the times I told her how much I needed her to stand by me, to put me first, to show me that I mattered. I thought about the times I had swallowed my anger, my frustration, because I loved her and believed that things could change. But after everything that had happened, I had changed too. I wasn't that man anymore, the one who would always forgive, always bend, always compromise. I was someone else now, someone who had finally found his strength. I sat there for what felt like hours, staring at the letter, letting the weight of it all sink in. And then I made the choice. I couldn't go back, not after everything. I picked up the phone and called her. I wasn't angry this time, but there was something colder in my voice, something final. "I got your letter," I said, "and I can't do it anymore. I've made my decision, Kelly. It's over." Her voice cracked when she heard the finality in my words. She begged, of course. She tried to make me believe that things could still be different, that we could still fix it, but I didn't believe her. Not anymore. Because the truth was, love is only real when it's mutual. And for years, it hadn't been mutual. She loved me, but she loved her family more. She loved their comfort, their control, their chaos, and I couldn't keep sacrificing myself to prove I mattered. I hung up the phone, finally feeling a sense of relief, but also an overwhelming sadness. I had loved her so much. I had wanted so badly for things to work out. But sometimes the only way to truly move on is to walk away. It's been a few months since I walked away from everything. Kelly, her family, the house we built together. And I'm not going to lie, it hasn't been easy. Some days the loneliness hits harder than others. Some nights I catch myself replaying the moments where I thought maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I should have fought harder, stayed longer, tried to salvage something. But then I remember everything that led me to this point. The lies, the neglect, the years of feeling like I wasn't enough. I took some time for myself. The first few weeks were the toughest. I didn't go back to the old routine. I didn't contact her. I didn't let anyone guilt trip me into thinking I made the wrong choice. I went silent on social media, erased every trace of the life we once shared, and focused on rebuilding myself. Slowly, I started doing things I hadn't done in years, taking long walks, reading books I never had time for, going to the gym, traveling when I could, and most importantly, learning to enjoy my own company. I spent hours in therapy, working through the pain, the anger, the betrayal. There were times when I felt like I couldn't breathe, like the weight of everything was going to crush me. But I got through it, and I realized something that changed everything for me. I'm not broken. I didn't need someone else to fix me. I needed to fix myself. Her family didn't reach out again after that final conversation. They knew I meant it this time. Kelly didn't either. At first I thought maybe she'd try again. Maybe she'd show up with another letter or a desperate phone call, but she didn't. And in a way, that felt like closure. I didn't have to keep wondering if she'd ever come back with empty promises or broken words. Months went by, and I started meeting new people. Nothing serious, just small connections. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like myself again. Like the man who had been lost for so long in a relationship that was never truly balanced. I realized that I wasn't alone. Not really. The friends I'd pushed away during the years I was with, Kelly, were still there, still supportive, still encouraging me to move forward. I won't lie, there's still a part of me that wonders what could have been, a part of me that misses the good moments we had, the laughs, the adventures, the dreams. But I also know that the good moments don't erase the bad. They don't make up for the emotional neglect, the constant family invasions, and the years I wasted trying to make it work when she wasn't willing to do the same. I've learned a lot about myself through this process. I've learned that I can survive without the toxic people I once thought I needed. I've learned that self-respect comes first, and that I deserve to feel peace and happiness without anyone else's approval. And most importantly, I've learned that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to walk away, even when it hurts. The healing isn't perfect. Some days are harder than others, and I'm still learning to let go of the anger, but I'm finally free. And that's enough for now. And that's it for today's story, folks. This one was heavy, but sometimes we need to hear these real-life experiences to understand just how complicated relationships can get. If you've ever gone through something similar, or if you've learned anything from this story, don't forget to leave a comment below. What do you think? Was it right for him to walk away, or should he have tried harder? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Make sure you hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you want more deep, emotional stories that keep you on the edge of your seat. You don't want to miss the next one, trust me. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the best outcomes. See you in the next one.